War. It has struck the galaxy once more. The age-old conflict between the forces of light and dark, threatening to tear it apart. The fragile peace of the Cold War is on the verge of breaking, sucking the Republic and Jedi back into war with the Sith Empire. But now, they know of the Sith Emperor and his pawns, and are prepared to fight back. This is the story of the famous video game Star Wars: The Old Republic, in which war is reignited and the Jedi Order has its most arduous battles to date. In the video game, there are 8 classes from which the player can choose: a Jedi Knight, Sith Warrior, Jedi Consular, Sith Inquisitor, Republic Trooper, Bounty Hunter, Smuggler, or Imperial Agent. This video will cover the first 4 of these, all the Force-sensitive storylines with perhaps the broadest implications story-wise. As a caveat, there are quite literally hours upon hours of content for each class alone, and for this video I will only recap the broad story arcs that can fit in seamlessly with the history of the Old Republic as a whole. There are many variations and different experiences players can have based on dialogue and decision making, and I tried to focus on the stories that made the most sense canon-wise. All these storylines additionally have minimal overlap and take place roughly in the same time frame, though many of the locations are identical. Let's dive in. A Padawan of the Jedi Order lands on Thanaton, intending to train to join the ranks of the Jedi Knights. The Order has retreated back to its ancient homeworld following the stunning sacking of the temple on Coruscant. Now, the Padawan is being escorted around the training grounds by the Jedi Darren Weller when they receive a distress signal from another Padawan. The grounds are under attack by Flesh Raiders, a hostile native species of Thanaton. The Padawan is immediately thrust into the battle and helps drive back the Flesh Raiders. The enemy seems to be using advanced weapons somehow, and now pose a formidable danger to the Academy. The Padawan journeys to a nearby cave used by the Raiders, and through their considerable skill in battle fights off several more. They then see a Jedi named Kalev, who seems to have gone rogue. He is holding another Padawan hostage, and claims the Order is weak and must evolve to survive. Kalev commands the Flesh Raiders and attacks the Padawan. He is killed just as Jedi Master Orgus Din arrives. Din sends the Padawan to the Council, and they head to the Jedi Temple. There, Master Satele Shan summons them to her personal meditation room. The great Jedi and leader of the Council is interested in the battle on the training grounds. The Padawan appears before the Council, which includes Master Kiwix, who is attended by her Padawan Kira. Satele Shan worries the temple is in imminent danger, and is particularly vulnerable given how scattered the Jedi are at the moment. The leader of the Flesh Raiders, who was Force-sensitive and wielded a lightsaber, especially bodes ill. Orgus Din says they must explore Thanaton more, and takes the Padawan under his tutelage. He sees great potential in them, and tells them they will set out to aid a colony of Twi'lek immigrants who are fighting the Flesh Raiders. The Padawan meets with the village matriarch, who believes the Jedi abandoned her people to fend for themselves. They find a Jedi reconnaissance droid, which shows them a recording of a dark hooded figure who seems to be Kalev's overseer. Master Din also arrives at the village as the Flesh Raiders gather for a large attack on the ruins of Kalev, where many Force users dwell. The Padawan joins the battle at Kalev, defeating a Ravager chieftain who seems to be able to speak and use the Force, calling him Jedi. Master Kiwix and her Padawan Kira Carson arrive, and find a holocron carried by the Flesh Raiders. They depart for Coruscant at the orders of Satele Shan, as the trouble on Thanaton deepens. The Padawan then returns to the Twi'lek village, where Master Din has learned the dark figure in the recording was his former Padawan Bengal Moore, a survivor of the attack on the Coruscant temple by Darth Malgus. Now, Moore seems to have turned against the Order. The Twi'lek matriarch's health worsens, and as she dies, the mantle of leadership passes on to her daughter Tau Ven. She then tells them of a Flesh Raider command base discovered in the mountains. The Padawan destroys the base's energy shield as Bengal Moore patches in, declaring he will have vengeance for the death of his apprentice Kalev. Moore promises the entire Order on Thanaton will perish, citing its weakness has allowed the Sith Empire to make unprecedented gains in the war. Moore is not Sith, but instead looks to reform the Order in his own vision. Returning to the village, the Padawan then helps the settlers defend their crop fields from strange chemical weapons. Master Din destroys the command base and finds coordinates for the Flesh Raider camp scattered across the valley. However, the Raiders seem to have grown stronger, even becoming able to feed off the dark side and wielding lightsabers. Bengal Moor then attacks the Twi'lek settlement, while the Padawan and Din are clearing out camps separately. The Padawan arrives at the village first, and learns that no distress call was ever sent. It is then revealed that the villagers in Tau Ven have betrayed the Jedi, and have handed Din over to Bengal Moor. The Padawan is stunned and imprisoned, but fights their way out and moves to rescue their master. They head to a place called the Forge, where Bengal Moor confronts them. Moor is disgusted with Din, and attacks the Padawan. After a brief duel, the Padawan defeats Moor and drives him to his knees. Moor is astounded by the strength he sees, and comes to believe the Padawan may be the one destined to rebuild the Jedi and defeat the Sith Empire. He offers to help the Padawan, but is knocked out and imprisoned. Din rises to his feet, and declares there is nothing more he can teach his student. The Padawan then constructs their own lightsaber at the Forge, and returns to the Thanaton Temple. Satil Shan promotes them to the rank of Jedi Knight, and the Council then receives a transmission from Master Kiwix. The dark presence she is investigating on Coruscant is stronger than expected, and Satil sends Din and the new knight to the planet as backup. On a passenger ship there, however, an Imperial ship opens fire, seemingly breaking the Treaty of Coruscant. The knight races to the bridge, which is hailed by Grand Moff Rikus Kilran. He is searching for the Imperial traitor Vin Asara. The Imperials move to board the ship, and the knight prepares to defend the bridge. They repel the boarders from the airlock, but then Asara shows up and tells them a Mandalorian mercenary named Iron Fist has led a separate attack on the bridge. Asara is a Republic ambassador, and works to convince Imperial worlds to secede to the Republic. The knight manages to reopen the bridge, which had been sealed off. They confront Iron Fist, and a vicious battle breaks out. After a tense fight, Iron Fist falls and the Imperials are cleared off the bridge. However, the ship is still under heavy fire, and Kilran's tractor beam is preventing any shuttles from escaping. In an act of great bravery, the knight volunteers to infiltrate Kilran's ship and disable the tractor beam along with Asara so everyone can escape. They break into the ship, battling through waves of Sith troopers and battle droids, but the knight is able to disable the tractor beam. Just then, a hooded figure appears and force chokes Asara and the other soldiers. The knight confronts him, a Sith named Vok. Vok is defeated, but now Kilran opens fire. They flee back to the Republic transport and are able to jump to hyperspace. The knight finally makes it to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, where they reunite with Din, Master Kiwix, and Kira. They also meet General Barsen'thor and Dr. Eli Tarnis. It is revealed that Tarnis, on behalf of the Republic, has been constructing a massive superweapon in secret on Coruscant. It is called the Planet Prison, which can supercharge a planet's atmosphere and transform it into a massive ion cannon of devastating proportions. Tarnis pitches it as a way to safely neutralize a planet's fleet, but unfortunately the plans have been stolen. The Knight and Kira are assigned to track down the criminals, who appear to be working for shadowy higher-ups. The Knight breaks into the gangster Vistus Garn's base, recovering stolen weapons along the way. Garn is defeated, and confesses he was hired by the Black Sun criminal syndicate, who already have a copy of the data files. Nonetheless, the Knight manages to recover the plans. However, they return to the temple and learn that Tarnis has been kidnapped. Kira is under heavy duress at a nearby spaceport, and the Knight rushes off to rescue her. The two Jedi rendezvous, and though Kira is stunned, the Knight defeats the Black Sun kidnappers. They rush towards the Black Sun base, where Tarnis is being held. Republic officials are also greatly concerned that the criminal organization has gained intel on their entire weapons arsenal, which would be a crippling blow to the military. Master Din and Master Kiwix head off to defend off-world weapons facilities, and the Knight sets off to find Dr. Tarnis with Kira's help. They meet up with Republic troops, who are demoralized by the defense being put up by the Black Sun, who now have new weapons and armor. The Knight rallies the soldiers, and it is then revealed that the Black Sun was actually hired by Tarnus, who faked his own kidnapping. Tarnus is actually a Sith, the son of Darth. Tarnus is actually a Sith, the son of Darth Angral. Tarnus is actually a Sith, the son of Darth Angral, and the Knight and soldiers overcome the Black Sun forces and defeat their leader. But now, Tarnus remains at large with the planet prison and threatens to use it on Coruscant. Kira and the Knight track him to the ruins of the Jedi Temple and the Works. There, Tarnus prepares to unleash the planet prison and reunite with Darth Angral. Kira and the Knight fight through the Sith troops and confront him. They battle the powerful Sith and defeat him. However, Darth Angral then appears as a Hollow and vows vengeance on the Knight and the Republic, a merciless campaign of brutality. The planet prison is destroyed, saving Coruscant. The Sith Empire publicly disavows Angral's actions, and the state of Cold War seems to be nearing an end. However, the Republic and Jedi are not ready for the war, particularly since now Darth Angral has access to all of the military's secret projects. The Knight learns that Angral may have a base on Ord Mantell, and is sent to find it. Kira will accompany them, and they set off for the planet currently undergoing a civil war. Upon arriving, the Knight departs for the surface to rendezvous with an agent of the Republic SIS. The Knight learns the civil war is between the Republic and Ord Mantell separatists, who the agent asserts are being funded by the Sith Empire. The goal is to find the hyperspace data transceiver to monitor Angral's communications. However, it is on a hostile remote island. The Knight manages to break into the base and fight their way to the transceiver, with the help of a T-7 droid, the same one who served Master Ven Zalo and Aaron Lanier. They successfully find communications between Tarnus and Darth Angral. It is then revealed the Sith Lord is constructing a new superweapon called the Desolator. However, upon returning to the ship, the Knight discovers that Kira, who remained on board, has been taken captive by Sith Inquisitor Farab on behalf of Angral. After a tense fight, the Knight defeats Farab and his acolytes, freeing Kira. After further examination of Angral's files, the Republic discovers the Sith plans to attach the Desolator to his personal battlecruiser. It is now imperative the Knight stops Angral from completing his project, and is told there are missions of high priority they must complete on Nar Shaddaa and Taris. The Knight heads to Taris, where they learn Dr. Nassan Godera is currently in hiding. Godera is the inventor of all the Republic's superweapon technologies, but must now be found in the desolate ruins of Taris. The Knight investigates one of Godera's outposts, battling Imperial assassin droids and intelligence agents along the way. It seems they are in a race with the Empire to find the Doctor first. The facility is reclaimed, and with the help of a surveillance droid they are able to find Godera's location. Godera is holed up in his main lab, fighting off his Imperial pursuers. Watcher 1 of Imperial Intelligence leads the attack, and the Knight arrives too late. Godera has supposedly taken his own life instead of surrendering to the Empire. The Knight defeats Watcher 1's troops, and then learns the death was faked. Watcher 1 already has Godera in custody, and is planning to interrogate him. They set out again, going to a nearby settlement. For Watcher 1 had alleged in the base a Sith assassin was planning to massacre the Republic outpost. Rora Seek, a Sith Beastmaster, then attacks the settlement. The Knight defeats Seek and her monsters, then races off with Kira to find Godera. They find Watcher 1, who answers to Darth Angral. The Knight captures him as a prisoner, but the Watcher chooses to end his own life. Godera is found and freed, and they learn he has been injected with a truth serum, and likely already revealed much to Angral and the Empire. Godera is hesitant to return to the Republic, believing its officials to be cowards for signing the peace treaty with the Sith years ago. Nonetheless, the Knight convinces him to come back to Coruscant. The Knight is praised for their heroic deeds, noting the division that seems to be fermenting within the Sith ranks. They then travel to Nar Shaddaa, where the Republic was conducting important military research. General Var Suthra reveals the project there was experimenting on living beings to create a power guard of super soldiers to fight the Sith. The local Republic operative and the SIS agent named Galen sent for a rendezvous have both disappeared. The SIS agents on the planet are also in deep hiding, fearing their network has been compromised. The Knight begins to track Galen's footsteps, and discovers a holo where Galen claims the Republic operative is dead, and the Power Guard files are missing. It becomes evident the Imperials have taken over the Power Guard project, and now also hold Galen as a prisoner. The Knight finds the main lab in the Red Light sector, and they and Kira storm the facility. There, many war refugees are being held in stasis for the project, at the command of Lord Sadich, Angral's apprentice who appears as a holo. They defeat the base commander, but cannot find Galen or Sadich. The SIS headquarters on Nar Shaddaa is evacuated, and the Imperial fallback position is discovered to be at an industrial factory. There, the Knight and Kira find Agent Galen, who is forced to give up his SIS agents and has already had his mind subjugated to the will of Lord Sadich. They are forced to battle Galen and drive him to the ground. He reveals Sadich plans to build his own army of super soldiers on Nar Shaddaa. They then find Sadich in his base, where the Sith has augmented himself with Power Guard technology. As Galen fights his conditioning, they defeat Sadich and the base is destroyed along with the Power Guard files. Meeting again with Barsen'thor, the Knight learns one of Darth Angral's admirals now wishes to defect to the Republic. They are wary of a trap, but apparently the admiral wishes to personally turn himself over to Kira. They fly to an asteroid mining facility, but it turns out the defection was indeed a ruse. A man named Valus instead meets them, telling the Jedi that Admiral remains loyal to Angral. He makes the stunning claim that Kira, like him, is a child of the Sith Emperor himself. Valus asks Kira to come back to the Emperor with him, and Kira then attacks. Valus is defeated, and Kira reveals to the Knight that her parents were Sith. She was raised in a Sith academy under the special supervision of the Emperor, but managed to escape and hide until she was found by Master Kiwix. However, after her confrontation with Angral, the Emperor now knows of Kira's survival, and will presumably begin searching for her. Kira decides to come clean to the Council, and they later learn that Masters Din and Kiwix, on their separate superweapon missions, missed their rendezvous points. They plan to search for the Masters, but first fly back to Thanaton to speak with the Council. There, Kira's story is told, and also of the existence of the Emperor's children. Kira is allowed to stay in the Order, and she and the Knight then head to Tatooine to find Master Kiwix. There, the Republic had a research facility building the shock drum, a massive ultrasonic vibrator capable of destabilizing a planet's core. Kira is able to sense Kiwix's presence, but the Jedi Master seems to be greatly weakened. The Knight and Kira find the facility, and learn from a surviving scientist that Kiwix has been taken by a Sith, who decided to spare the scientist in a strange act of mercy. The shock drum was also taken, and the Knight must find it to stop Angral from acquiring another superweapon. They discover then that the weapon has already been activated, and are eventually able to triangulate its location. Then, the Knight is contacted by the Sith. Lord Praven, another apprentice of Angral, offers to battle the Knight in a fair duel to avoid the planet's destruction. They meet on a plateau, and in the duel Praven is wounded, and impressed by the Knight's power. He hands over the shock drum's deactivation code, and tells them Kiwix is held near the weapon. The Knight refuses to kill Praven, and is instead able to convince him to try and join the Jedi Order. They then race to a mining facility, defeating a sand demon and fighting their way to Kiwix and the shock drum. The weapon is deactivated, and a weakened Kiwix is saved. The Knight decides to destroy the weapon, and Kiwix is told of Kira's Sith origins. They then set a course for Alderaan to find Master Din. The planet is currently torn apart by eternal struggle, with the noble families fighting for control and whether to align with the Republic or Sith. Barsen'thor says the Republic deployed the superweapon Deathmark there, a satellite designed for precise assassinations. Master Din last communicated with the Republic from Organa Palace, but disappeared soon after. Upon landing, the Knight learns the Deathmark facility was invaded by the Sith, and Master Din has been stabbed in the back. The Sith also worked with the Killik insect species, and now have control of the Deathmark. A noble is killed in front of the Jedi with the Deathmark, and the Knight then finds the research facility. There, Din is revealed to have survived his wounds, and together they battle the Killik swarming the compound. The Knight disables the power stations fueling the Death Mark, taking it temporarily offline. The Sith commander, Lord Nefarid, hails them and threatens to unleash the Death Mark on innocents, spreading terror across the planet. They learn a spy in Palace Organa has been outed and is now in House Thule. They decide to take down the spy and recover the Death Mark, which is also presumably in House Thule. There, the spy tries to convince Duke Thule to join Nefarid, but the Knight appears and defeats the mole. The Duke gives the Knight coordinates for Nefarid's base, and the Death Mark tracking device is destroyed. Master Din then hails the Knight, informing them Angral's cruiser has been found and will jump to hyperspace soon. He decides to board the cruiser, and the Knight moves out to confront Nefarid. They break into his base, and are shown a holo of a beaten Din lying before Angral. Without mercy, Darth Angral kills Master Din, and the Knight then leaps forward to battle Nefarid. The apprentice of Angral is killed, and the targeting computer of the Death Mark is destroyed, saving Alderaan. It is then revealed that Din was able to place a tracking device on Angral's ship before he died. His movement is tracked to the Euphrates system, the Knight's next destination. They arrive at Euphrates to find the world razed by the Desolator already, with millions dead at the hand of Angral. The Republic comes to believe that Angral's next target will be Tython itself, but they have a small window of time while the weapon recharges. They race to Tython and confront Angral in his cruiser. The Knight fights their way to the bridge and encounters Darth Angral, who is set on exacting revenge for the death of his son. Then, Kira steps forward and stands by Angral. A red aura appears around her, and she then speaks with the voice of the Sith Emperor himself, commanding Angral to kill the Knight. Kira begins to resist the Emperor's commands, and she and the Knight then battle Angral and kill him after a lengthy fight. However, Kira becomes possessed again, and is forced to attack the Jedi Knight. She resists the Emperor's will, however, and finally breaks free of his control. Angral's cruiser and the Desolator are destroyed, and the Knight flies down to Tython to meet with the Council again. There, Kira is promoted to the rank of Jedi Knight, but Angral's actions seem to have sparked all-out war in the galaxy again. The Force Ghost of Master Din then appears to the Knight, telling them to search for a crashed starship on Tatooine. The downed ship belongs to the Sith, and upon reaching it, the Knight slays several warriors and investigates the scene. They find Jomar Chol, who is on a secret mission for the Jedi. The Knight is given sensor logs for the defenses of the Droman Ka system, the home of the Empire, and flies back to Tython. Now known as the Hero of Tython, the Knight is recruited into a daring strike team designed to capture the Sith Emperor himself. They are sent to Balmorra to aid in the fighting there and to find a specific cloaking device. It is of the same design as the one hiding the Emperor's fortress on Droman Kos, and will be crucial for the mission's success. The Knight and Kira link up with the local resistance fighters on the surface. They help defend and evacuate a medical facility, then set out to find the cloaking device. The Knight frees a resistance spy who is captured tracking the device. They disable the blast shields and are able to free the spy. The spy reveals she was forced to expose the resistance, but the Knight gives her safe haven in the Republic. The Balmorran resistance is outraged, but the cloaking device is at last revealed to be in an arms factory. They are able to find the Imperial data files, and then Sith Lord Razak appears and confronts them. The powerful Knight strikes Razak down and takes the prototype. The Balmorran resistance tries to take it for themselves, but is persuaded by the Knight to take other military research more pertinent to their cause. The leader of the Resistance medical facility joins the Knight's crew, and the prototype is taken to Tython. There, Jedi Master Braga asks the Knight to search for his own missing Padawan Sajar, who is also a former member of the Sith Emperor's Dark Council. Sajar has vanished on the planet of Quesh, which is now under attack by Imperial forces. On Quesh, they find Sajar, who confesses in a moment of weakness he fell to anger and executed prisoners of war. He fears he has failed as a Jedi, and was told by an Imperial officer who recognized him that the Emperor's Wrath and Executioner has been sent to find him. The Wrath is a shadowy, ancient figure who is feared by all, even the Dark Council. The Knight and Kira defend the base from an Imperial attack, but then the Emperor's Wrath arrives. It is Lord Scourge, who recognizes the Knight's might and allows Sajar to remain in his care. Sajar is ordered to return to Tython and face the judgment of the Jedi Council. Master Braga then asks the knight to travel to Hoth to meet with fellow Jedi Liha Nerez. She is battling pirates and Imperial forces, who are swarming the world and its graveyard of crashed ships. Liha is searching for a full technical readout of the Emperor's fortress in the wreckage, and needs the knight's help. The Empire launches a full-scale invasion of Hoth, and the knight helps defend the Republic forces from the onslaught. With Liha, they track the readout to a downed scientist ship in an ice cavern. The knight and Kira fight through the Imperial troops already at the site. They are confronted by the Emperor's personal guard and are commanded to surrender. After a lengthy fight, they discover the White Maw pirates have already stolen the readouts. The pirate depot and their dreadnought is now the next target. The knight and Kira take out several munitions depots and confront the White Maw in their base. They obtain readouts of the dreadnought and must battle the Sith and pirates at the same time so the fortress plans can be found. The knight battles the Emperor's guard, while Liha is able to steal the data files. The Jedi now have all the information they need to storm the Emperor's fortress on Dromund Kaas. The knight then receives a transmission from Master Oteg of the 1st Expeditionary Fleet. He asks for the knight's aid in attacking a secret Imperial prison called the Maelstrom Nebula. They must rescue a Jedi held prisoner there who may have vital intel for the war effort. Visiting Oteg, a Jedi Force ghost warns them the prisoner has been held captive for 300 years, and is the only reason the darkness of the Emperor has been held back. However, his strength will eventually fail, and the prisoner in turn will become the darkness himself. To navigate the nebula, the knight steals a computer from the ancient Greece civilization, whose world is also under Imperial subjugation. They join Oteg's fleet and attack an Imperial fortress, and a battle breaks out as Grand Moff Kilran arrives as well. The knight acquires the computer, and is tasked with leading the rescue mission. After navigating the treacherous nebula, the knight and his team break into the prison. As a battle rages outside between Oteg and Kilran, who is revealed to serve Darth Malgus, they move to free the prisoner. To preserve the fleet, the knight orders them to withdraw while the prisoner is extracted. They continue to fight their way to the target, and Kilran himself touches down to secure the prisoner. The knight battles Kilran and takes his life, then finds the prisoner suspended in an energy field. The freed Jedi is none other than Revan, the prodigal knight who vanished hundreds of years ago. He languishes that he can no longer hold the Emperor at bay, and the Force ghost who spoke to Oteg appears again. It is the spirit of Mitra Surik, former general of Revan, and she remains devoted to helping him until the Sith Emperor is defeated. Revan knows the Emperor hopes to turn him back to the dark side and serve the Sith once more. After they flee the nebula, Revan tells the knight he will relay his intel to the Jedi Council, but afterwards will chart his own warpath against the Emperor. He looks to find something called the Foundry, which he claims in his hands may be able to end the war. They return to Tython, where the Jedi have been examining the layout of the Emperor's fortress and the cloaking device. It is a monumental moment in the war, and a strike team is already being prepared to travel to Dromund Kaas. In an ambitious move, Master Braga desires to capture the Emperor alive and redeem him to the light side. This sentiment, however, is not shared by all the Jedi, and one speaks up claiming to have had a vision of the knight falling to the dark side. Despite the risks, it is decided the mission will carry on, and the Jedi strike team sets out for the fortress. The knight docks inside. The Jedi have split up for separate paths, to meet again at the throne room. Kira is wary of a trap, not wanting to fall back under the sway of the Emperor. The Jedi take heavy casualties, but the knight and Kira are able to converge on the Emperor's sanctum, where the Emperor himself sits on his throne and is guarded by Lord Scourge. They battle Scourge and the rest of the Masters arrive. The Emperor unsurprisingly refuses to come to Tython to be redeemed, and unleashes a powerful storm that stuns all the Jedi but Braga, the Knight, and Kira. They try to advance on the Emperor, but his power is too great and they are overcome. The Knight is knocked out and imprisoned. Though their will is great, over time the Knight falls to darkness and begins training as a Sith under Lord Scourge. Eventually, the Force ghost of Orgus Din reappears to the Knight, urging them to fight the Emperor's control. The Knight fights off the cloud of darkness and finds they have no memory of what happened after the Jedi confronted the Emperor. The other Jedi are still being held captive, but the redeemed Knight now looks to escape. Din tells them they will have a mysterious dark ally, and the Knight is then summoned to help interrogate Kira. The Knight, however, frees Kira, and they move to escape. However, they discover that Lord Scourge has already killed the Sith guarding their ship and freed the Jedi. He asks to accompany the Knight to Thanaton, revealing he wishes to help them in defeating the Emperor. For Scourge knows the Emperor's final plan is to utterly annihilate all life in the galaxy and rule over a cold void for eternity. So for 300 years, he has waited for a hero of the light side to rise up and challenge the Emperor. He had a vision long ago in which he saw the Knight, and believes them to be the hero to take down. Scourge pledges his loyalty to the Knight, and asks to be taken to the Jedi Council. The Knight takes him on board, and they flee Dromund Kaas. They return to Thanaton, having been missing for a long while. Master Braga, Leha, and the Jedi Warren are all still captives, and Scourge tells the Council of his vision, warning them of the Emperor's plan to kill all the star systems in the galaxy. The Emperor plans to enhance his power by annihilating all life on the planet of Belsavis, the prison world of the Republic. The Knight and Scourge depart immediately, and learn from Satil Shan the prisoners have already all been freed. A pure-blooded Sith named Executor Kranis is on the surface, and is likely the driving force behind the Emperor's plans on Belsavis. A Jedi already on the surface will help them find Kranis. However, once they land, it turns out the Jedi has already died, but a base worker named Pac Taldeen offers to help them. He tells them the Sith are holed up in the main reactor, and the Knight and Kira are able to disable its energy shields. The Sith, following Kranis, fight with a fanatical devotion, committed to extinguishing all life on the planet. They then learn Kranis is after the Republic scientist Dr. Gantrell, who is holed up in a vault somewhere. However, Kranis gets to Gantrell first, and must be found by the Knight. The Knight fights their way to Gantrell, and learns Kranis plans to trigger several cataclysmic volcanic eruptions using explosives. The Knight and Kira disable the explosives and are then able to rescue Gantrell from a massive torrent attack. Gantrell reveals that Kranis and the Emperor's scheme is to detonate the prison's power core, which draws energy from hyperspace. The explosion will trigger shockwaves at light speed, and annihilate the entire star system and its neighbors. The Knight and Kira race to the power core and confront Kranis. Republic Special Forces then show up as backup, but Kranis in his fanaticism refuses to surrender. After a brief battle, he is killed by the Knight, and the charges around the power core are disabled. The Knight departs Belsavis, and they learn from Grandmaster Satil that there is a planned gathering of high-ranking Sith on a remote space station. Master Jomar Chol had attempted to scout the site, but went missing. The Knight sets out for Jomar's last known coordinates. With Scourge's help, the Knight is able to dock in the station. They find Jomar, but it is then revealed that Leha Narez has fallen to the dark side, and has lured everyone to the station. The Knight battles Leha, and drives her down. The spell of the Emperor breaks, and she comes back to her senses. Jomar takes her back to Thanaton, and tells the Knight he has overheard that Sith Lord Fulminus has been sent by the Emperor to the planet Voss. Voss is a dangerous world, for its people reject the Jedi and worship an elite group of Force users called the Mystics, who claim to follow a neutral path of the Force. The Knight begins to search for Fulminus, and encounters a Voss named Tala Re. She is searching for the mystic Valen Da, who was last seen with Fulminus. However, several Sith acolytes and apprentices appear, all in deranged, maddened states. They learn the apprentices are preparing a ritual of sorts for Fulminus, and that he and Valen Da are headed to the Shrine of Healing. The Knight enters the shrine, and discovers the healers there have also gone mad. They are forced to strike down the healers, and then learn from mystic spirits that Fulminus managed to corrupt the healing ritual. A message from Valen Da is given to the Knight, and reuniting with Tala Re, they learn that Fulminus plans to use the ritual to corrupt the entire planet. They must now go to the Dark Heart and the foreboding Nightmare Lands. The Knight steals maps of the Nightmare Lands from the local Gormat King as the Voss launch a diversionary attack. They then set out for the Dark Heart and confront Barsen'thor and Fulminus. There, the Dark Heart, which seems to be sentient, urges the Sith to start the ritual and unleash the plague of madness on Voss. The knight leaps forward to duel Fulminus and defeats him. The Dark Heart, known as Selma Core to the Voss, must now be destroyed. Barsen'thor then decrees he brought Tala Ray there for a purpose, for she is the only one who can destroy the Dark Heart. She accepts her destiny and descends into the Dark Heart. Tala Ray sacrifices herself to destroy the evil entity, saving Voss. The knight is then told by Satil Shan that Warren Sidoru, one of the Jedi captured by the Emperor, has re-emerged as a servant of darkness and has attacked the flagship Valiant. They race to the ship, and there battle the corrupted Warren. Warren attacks the knight, but is no match for their formidable power. He refuses to repent, gloating that Master Braga has also been corrupted and is now leading an attack on Corellia. Warren is imprisoned, and the Republic mobilizes its forces to defend Corellia. A large battle, with massive loss of life on each side, begins to rage on the planet. The knight is named Supreme Commander of the armies there, and is ordered to save Corellia and find Braga. They coordinate efforts with General Barsen'thor and liberate several munitions factories. The Sith plan to detonate a chemical bomb, and the knight sets out to prevent its detonation. The bomb is disabled, and the knight then reunites with Dr. Godera. They learn Braga is setting up turbo lasers in Axial Park to inflict maximum casualties on the local populace. The knight finds the lasers and destroys them. However, Dr. Godera and his security were ambushed by the Sith, who killed the scientist. Braga is then tracked to a landed Imperial cruiser, where he plans to detonate its reactors and release deadly radiation into the sky. After a fierce battle, the knight finds Braga and attempts to redeem him to the light. Braga feels the galaxy is not worth saving, however, and attacks. But the knight defeats Braga, and the downed warrior tells the knight the Emperor is waiting for them on Dromund Kaas for a final, decisive confrontation. Braga is persuaded to return to Tython, and the knight sets out for the greatest battle of their life. The Sith and the Emperor are vulnerable now, and the knight and Scourge gear up for a showdown with the greatest foe the galaxy has ever seen. The Republic and Jedi fleets launch a direct attack on Dromund Kaas so the knight can land on the planet safely. They move quickly, with the Republic fleet taking heavy fire above. Scourge tracks the Emperor to a hidden temple in the jungles of Dromund Kaas. They steal a shuttle and fly to the temple. Only the knight has the power to resist the Emperor and will take him on alone. Kira, Scourge, and the knight's other team members provide cover, and the knight finds the Emperor's throne room. The Emperor refuses to surrender, saying his rise cannot be stopped. You are a blind insect, contemplating the void of space. My ascendance is inevitable. A day, a year, a millennium, it matters not. I have the patience of stone and the will of stars. Your striving is insignificant. Let your death be the same. Perhaps the most consequential battle in the history of the galaxy begins, with the Emperor conjuring many phantoms of dark energy to attack the knight. It is a long and arduous fight, and the Emperor then blasts the knight with purple lightning. The knight blocks it with their lightsaber, and rushes forward and slashes the Emperor across the chest. The Emperor dies, vowing his revenge will come. His body vanishes into smoke, and the temple starts to collapse. The knight narrowly escapes and makes it back to their squad. The Emperor seems to at last be defeated, and the Republic fleet withdraws from Dromund Kaas. The twilight of the war begins in earnest, and the knight and Kira are given full honors for their acts of heroism. The Sith have fallen to chaos, and the knight, Kira, and the rest of their team members and even Lord Scourge are given the Cross of Glory. The knight is then promoted to a Jedi Master, and vows to continue fighting for justice and peace in the galaxy. As war erupts between the resurgent Sith Empire and the Republic, a young Sith acolyte is summoned to face the dark side trials on Korriban. This was done at the behest of Overseer Tremel, and the acolyte is quickly introduced to the harsh, unforgiving environment of the Sith Academy. It seems the Acolyte has tremendous potential in the Force, and Trammell, for unknown reasons, is accelerating their progress. He wants the new Acolyte to become the top student in the Academy, supplanting Vemrin, currently the strongest warrior there and favored to become the next apprentice of Darth Baras. The Acolyte is thrust into the trials immediately, which include the interrogation of Sith prisoners. They also explore an ancient Sith tomb, encountering Vemrin along the way. The rival student looks to cement his status as Lord Barris's chosen apprentice and attacks the Sith Acolyte. The Acolyte holds their own, and is then summoned to meet Lord Barris himself. There the trials will begin in earnest, and Barris in particular looks down on the Acolyte with particular scrutiny, given the favoritism shown to them by the Overseer. As their first test, Barris commands them to cut off the hand of Trammell. The Acolyte battles Overseer Trammell, and through their vast power overcomes him. Barris is impressed when they return with Trammell's hand, and sends them and the rest of the potential apprentices on a mission to retrieve shards from some ancient ruins. The Acolyte retrieves the shards, and the other students attack to try and steal them. They are overcome, and Vemrin and the Acolyte quickly emerge as the top candidates for apprenticeship. Barras begins to favor the Acolyte to the fury of Vemrin, and dismisses him and gives the Acolyte a final task. He sends them to claim an ancient lightsaber from the tomb of Naga Sadow. However, a jealous Vemrin attacks them, determined to regain the favor of Barras. The Acolyte defeats him, ending his life with a single stroke. The lightsaber is found and given to the Lord of the Sith. Lord Barras, seeing great potential in the Acolyte, declares them to be his next apprentice and orders them to fly to Dromund Kaas. There they receive their first assignment, and Barras reveals he has also managed to get spies into the Jedi Order itself. The apprentice is to act as his enforcer. The first mission is to ensure the safe transport of a prisoner to Barras, and they head to a cargo port. The prisoner is frozen in carbonite, and is revealed to be a Republic agent, one who may be close to bringing down Barris's entire spy network. Barras decides to torture the agent, and the apprentice is then sent on various missions, including quashing a slave revolt and crippling the operations of the rival Sith Lord Grethin. The slave unrest is crushed, and the apprentice battles Grethin's son and wife to send the Sith a message. They defeat another of Barris's apprentices, and return to Barras to find the spy unbroken. Barras sends the apprentice to retrieve a torture device called the Ravager from the Dark Temple, one he claims can consume the minds of prisoners. The Ravager is found and used on the spy to devastating effect. The spy, before dying, confesses he was sent to Nar Shaddaa by Jedi Master Nomen Karr, and Barras learns that Karr has an apprentice of considerable power. The Jedi Padawan there was able to detect his spy on Nar Shaddaa, and Barras sends his own apprentice to investigate further. The Sith apprentice receives their own Sith Fury-class interceptor, and is tasked with eliminating the spies of Barras on Nar Shaddaa and Balmorra, in an effort to conceal the presence of the spy network. Their first destination is Nar Shaddaa to hunt down Agent Delacon. However, Delacon has acquired asylum under the Sith Lord Rathari, another rival of Barras. Rathari also has the support of the Dark Council, and must consequently be taken down with discretion. The apprentice interrupts negotiations between the Hutts and Rathari's apprentice Girik, and then kills Girik. Lord Rathari is baited into an open conflict, and offers to duel the apprentice. The apprentice meets with Rathari and Delacon, and the battle begins. Rathari is taken aback by their raw power, and concedes the planet back to Barras. He kills Delacon, and humiliated, resolves to not interfere with Barras again. The apprentice then heads to Balmorra to eliminate a resistance general there named Rylon. With the aid of Lieutenant Malavai Quinn, the apprentice storms a munitions factory and wreaks havoc on the Republic soldiers. Rylon accepts his fate and is killed, and the apprentice learns of a Jedi spying on the entire mission. The apprentice rushes off to confront the Jedi Knight, named Mashallan. Quinn blocks the Knight's transmissions, preventing the spy network from being blown. The Knight is defeated, and Barras promotes Quinn, who joins the apprentice's crew. The hunt for the Jedi Padawan continues, and it is revealed the apprentice's shuttle is being tracked by Nomen Karr. The apprentice finds the station tracking them and confronts a holo of Kar himself. Kar is determined to keep his Padawan hidden, but the apprentice and Barras know that as she is hunted down, Kar will eventually be forced out into the open. The apprentice is sent to Alderaan and Tatooine, the home world of the Jedi Padawan and where they were trained. On Tatooine, the apprentice is ordered to hunt down the Jedi Master Yonlok, who shares a unique force bond with the Jedi Padawan. With the help of a local tracker, they navigate the desert and battle criminal thugs working for the exchange. It is revealed that Kar's Padawan can discern the true nature of any individual to be Jedi or Sith, posing an obvious threat to Barras' spy network. The apprentice finds the Forbidden Pass in the desert and journeys through it to find Master Yonlok. They confront the Jedi Master and his student Yu Li, who refuse to give anything up. Yu Li attacks and is driven down by the apprentice, and Yonlok is also defeated. Yu Li offers to reveal everything in order to save his master's life, and tells the apprentice the Padawan's name is Jaisa Wilson. Before he can tell more, Yonlok wipes his memory. The apprentice departs, satisfied with the fact that through the Force Bond, Jaisa is now aware of her hunters. They set off next to Alderaan, Jaisa's homeworld. The strategy there will be to draw Jaisa out by killing those she holds dear and put her in an emotionally vulnerable state. The apprentice is sent to a world embroiled in civil war, and put into contact with Duke Kendo of House Thul. Jaisa's true identity is tracked through several noble houses, including the Organas. Jaisa was apparently the housemaiden to Giselle Organa, now the general of House Organa during the Civil War. The apprentice breaks into the Organa headquarters and confronts Giselle after decimating her forces. Giselle, after the apprentice helps her forces repel an enemy attack, reveals Jaisa's parents are now servants for House Organa. The apprentice then storms House Organa and finds Jaisa's parents guarded by Jedi Master Valrider. They convince them to enter life under the Empire, a ploy to throw Jaisa off her game. Later, Jaisa personally contacts the apprentice and asks to meet to settle their personal war. The apprentice sets out for the coordinates sent by Jaisa. However, several Jedi appear, for Nomen Karr learned of the meeting and staged an ambush. The Jedi are soundly defeated, and then Nomen Karr calls Barras personally to a fight. The apprentice is sent with orders to not kill Karr, so Jaisa can be thrown into more turmoil. They attack Kar's stronghold on Hutta and confront the Jedi Master. Nomen Karr is driven back by the apprentice's power, falling to darkness during the fight. But at last he is wounded and spared by the apprentice. Then, Jaisa herself arrives and demands Karr be freed. She is taken aback by the darkness she sees in Karr and becomes more vulnerable. Karr urges her to attack, and a duel begins. However, Jaisa is no match for the Sith, and her life is also spared. Jaisa's faith in the Jedi Order is shaken, and she joins the apprentice's side. Darth Barras is impressed with his apprentice's deeds, and commends them as an official Sith Lord. Their next task involves Darth Vengeance, who seeks open war once more with the Republic. To accomplish this, Barras believes the key lies in the Republic war hero Karastes Gon. Gon is supposedly meeting on Nar Shaddaa with several Imperial traitors, and the Sith Warrior is tasked with killing him there. The warrior is able to find Gon in his base, and kills him and his entire contingent. The Imperial traitors reveal they helped the Jedi land on Hoth, a starship graveyard. Barras claims credit for eliminating Gon, and a pleased Darth Vengeance meets the Sith Warrior and believes war is inevitable. Plan Zero is initiated, a preemptive strike to kill all the top Republic military leaders. 4 are already being tracked by Barras, with 2 remaining missing. The Sith Warrior is to take out 4 top generals on Taris, who compose the Republic War Trust. They are master strategists, and are rarely all in one place together. Upon landing, Moff Hurden gives Imperial Lieutenant Pierce over to the Sith's crew. The Sith Warrior hunts down each general one by one, eliminating Generals Frelka, Minst, Durant, and Ferrer. Along the way, they disrupt Project Siantide, a military research program harvesting residue from the destroyed life forms on Taris. The Republic has discovered that the substance, when exposed to radiation, can become a powerful new energy source and unparalleled resource of weaponry for the Republic. The war trust is shattered, and Barras then tells the warrior that Republic Admiral Monk has attacked Darth Vengeance in the fringes of the galaxy. His flagship is under siege, and the warrior is immediately sent to destroy Monk. They liberate the ship, but learn that Monk has fled down to the planet of Quesh. The warrior flies down to the surface and attacks Monk, who then reveals he is actually a spy for Barras. The revelation surprises the warrior, who is forced to kill Monk and his troops. Returning to Barras, their master confides that the blunder by Vengeance and the fall of Monk was all part of a larger plan of his, to be revealed in time. For now, however, the warrior is to eliminate the final target of Plan Zero, Jedi Knight Xerender, currently stationed on Hoth. Xerender is apparently searching for a secret superweapon on the surface. The warrior gains the help of a local Tals named Brunmark, who reveals that Xerender is actually looking for another Jedi Master, Violet. Violet was captured by Barras long ago, but his transport ship had crashed on Hoth. The Jedi also has history with Barras himself, and has the Sith's lightsaber. The Sith Warrior races off, and intercepts a business deal for the lightsaber. They track Xerender further, and find him and a freed Violet. Xerender is knocked out after a brief fight, and Violet then reveals he has no intention of returning to the Republic. He claims to have reached a greater understanding of the Force, and as the chamber collapses, asks to be buried with the fallen Xerender. The Jedi are buried in the rubble, and the warrior departs Hoth. Plan Zero is thus completed, and the warrior is summoned back to Dromund Kaas. There, Barras reveals he has been orchestrating the downfall of Darth Vengeance for years, in hopes that he can take his place on the Dark Council. The warrior is now tasked with linking up with Lord Drog, a disgruntled apprentice of Vengeance, to take the council member down. Drog is freed from Vengeance prisons, and together they attack Vengeance Sanctum. Fighting through several other Sith Lords, they finally encounter Vengeance himself. The warrior and Drog attack, and Vengeance is destroyed decisively. Barras ascends to the Dark Council, greatly pleased with his apprentice. As war begins in earnest across the galaxy, Barras revels in his newfound power and influence. The warrior is sent next to Quesh to stifle a Republic plot. There, the Republic has found a series of caverns under an Imperial base, threatening to bring down the whole thing. The warrior confronts the Republic squad and their detonator malfunctions. Lord Drog then patches in and reveals that he has the real detonator. It is a great betrayal by Drog and Barras, who both now seek to eliminate the warrior. The bombs go off and the warrior narrowly survives. As they float in and out of consciousness, two shadowy figures stand over them. The warrior awakens sometime later and encounters the two figures. They travel to a nearby outpost, and it is revealed the two strangers are servants 1 and 2 of the Emperor himself. For Lord Scourge, longtime Wrath of the Emperor, has suddenly defected, and now the Emperor looks to immediately replace him with the warrior. The servants act as the hand of the Emperor, and tell the new Wrath that Darth Barras must be stopped, for his power continues to grow, and he may soon claim to be the voice of the Emperor himself. Barras has already succeeded in deceiving the Dark Council, with the lone exception of Darth Vowron. The servants direct Wrath to Belsavis, who looks for vengeance against their former master. Arriving at the prison world, they learn Barras seeks to reunite with his sister, Darth Akagi. Wrath is sent to stop her release, with the Emperor coordinating prisoner extractions as cover. They land and battle Republic and Imperial troops alike, picking up the trail of the rescue team sent by Barras. Along the way, they encounter Jedi Master Sominik Tims, also a former apprentice of Nomen Karr. He knows of the Wrath's goal and is also trying to find Barras' sister. They are forced to work together to thwart Barras and head towards the deep prison. Wrath neutralizes Akagi's assassins and moves on to the Sith's cell. There, a furious Akagi has already been freed and confronts Wrath and Master Tims. They attack Akagi and overpower her. Wrath breaks her neck and parts way with the Jedi Master. Wrath meets again with the Hand of the Emperor, who tell them Darth Vowron requires their support in the Battle of Corellia. Barras looks to sabotage Vowron there, and his schemes must be stopped. he was able to redirect the Empire's Armageddon fleet to Hoth instead of Corellia, putting Valoron's forces in jeopardy. Wrath is instructed to travel there to reassign the fleet to Corellia. They find the fleet and its general, and convince them to move to Corellia. However, upon returning to the spaceport, Wrath finds the hangar in flames at the hand of Lord Drog. He has come to kill Wrath, and they begin to duel. It is a long, arduous fight, but in the end, Wrath force pushes him over a rail, and Drog burns in the fires below. However, Barras now knows that Wrath has survived the assassination attempt. The Hand sends Wrath to Voss next, a world hotly contested by the Empire and Republic. There, Wrath learns that the true voice of the Emperor is somewhere on the surface below. Apparently, the voice had been searching for a strong dark side presence on Voss, but has since vanished. Wrath tracks the voice's journey with the aid of a local mystic. It is revealed the voice had gone to the Dark Heart in the dangerous Nightmare Lands. Wrath is able to find Selma Kor, the Dark Heart, in a strange arcane chamber. There, they meet the voice of the Emperor, who turns and speaks to them as the Emperor himself. The voice has been trapped in the body of a Voss for some time, as a Voss cannot leave the chamber of the Dark Heart. It is another of Barris's manipulations, which he used to falsely claim that he was the true voice of the Emperor. The voice orders Wrath to cut down his physical body, but is resisted by Selma Kor, for the entity desires the power of the Emperor. The Dark Heart possesses the voice and battles Wrath, but the mighty Sith Warrior is able to destroy the Voss body. The Emperor praises Wrath before departing the body, and Wrath returns to their ship. Before leaving, the Voss mystic from before warns them that one of their crew will betray them. Now, the task of protecting Darth Valoron from Barras falls to Wrath, and they are sent to aid in the battle for Corellia. However, Malavai Quinn informs Wrath the Empire has enacted a blockade around the system, making it tricky to reach Valoron. He proposes they steal a signal emitter from a nearby shuttle to sneak past Barras. However, after breaking into the shuttle, Quinn reveals the blockade and emitter was all a ruse. He answers to Barras only, and has worked with him to draw Wrath out. Several specialized droids attack Wrath, and after a hard fight they are destroyed and Quinn is subdued. Wrath then arrives at Corellia, and dispatches 2 assassins sent by Barras with ease. A third, however, has already made it to Valoron's headquarters. Wrath races there to warn Valoron, but the Sith mistakenly believes them to be the assassin. After defeating the guards and several Sith, Wrath meets Valoron and convinces him of their true allegiance to the Emperor. The third assassin then attacks, and Valoron is narrowly rescued. He is evacuated to Wrath's ship, and advises Wrath to eliminate Barras' agents on Corellia to weaken his support from the Dark Council. Wrath neutralizes Barras' agents, who are embedded in the Republic military and Jedi Order. However, while on their mission, their ship is attacked by another assassin, and Valoron is forced to be evacuated to a safe house. Wrath returns to the crew, and Valoron then reveals that Barras draws his power from an ancient Sith spirit on the planet. This entity has allowed him to glimpse into the future, and if freed, it will cripple Barras. Wrath breaks into Barras' stronghold on Corellia and encounters the bound entity. Valoron arrives to perform the ritual, but then the assassin attacks. It is a resurrected Lord Drog, who was saved by Barras. His power has grown considerably, and he now believes himself to be indomitable. Wrath battles Drog once more, and is at last able to kill their enemy once and for all. Valoron conducts the ritual, and the entity is freed. Thus they set out for Korriban, to appear before the Dark Council and confront Darth Barras. Wrath strides into the council chamber, escorted by Valoron. They confront Barras and declare themselves as Wrath of the Emperor. Wrath and Valoron try to convince the council of Barras' trickery, and Darth Mar declares Wrath will duel Barras to determine whose claim is true. Wrath attacks Barras and after a tense fight, overcomes him. His claim and reputation is destroyed, and the council acknowledges Wrath as the true servant of the Emperor. Darth Barras is executed by Wrath, and the council members rise and bow to them. In the wake of the unprecedented Treaty of Coruscant, the Jedi Order withdraws to its ancient homeworld of Tython. As they regain their connection to the Force, a Padawan lands to begin their training. They were transferred to Tython on account of their great power in the Force, and will begin studying under Master Yuan Par. Par is an archaeologist, and is currently excavating for relics of teaching holograms from founders of the Order. However, the holograms are now in jeopardy from Flesh Raider attacks. The Padawan is sent to recover the relics safely for their first mission, and is able to find them all. They reinforce the importance of upholding justice and peace in the galaxy, a burden that must be shouldered by the Order. However, it turns out that one holoprojector has been stolen. The Padawan returns to the Jedi Temple, and finds Par conversing with a Trandoshan named Kaizen. Par reveals the missing hologram was that of the ancient Master Rajavari. He was a founder of the Jedi who turned to the dark side, contributing to the schism that birthed the Sith Order. Par believes a refugee from Kalikori Village, a Twi'lek refugee settlement, likely stole the hologram. The Padawan heads to the village, and receives a cold welcome but manages to learn that the holoprojector may be in the hands of Naylan Rolak, a dueling champion of the village. There is concern that Rajavari's teachings may be a dangerous influence, and the Padawan sets off to find him. They are able to find Naylan's camp in the holoprojector, and discover Naylan is Force sensitive. He passionately declares he will lead his people in a great conquering of Tython, eliminating the Flesh Raiders and removing the Jedi and Republic as well. Naylan has already soaked in much of Rajavari's teachings, and as the cavern around him rumbles and threatens to collapse, he flees. The Padawan returns to the Jedi Temple with Rajavari's hologram. Par watches it and realizes that Naylan may be searching for the Fount of Rajavari. It is an archive of all his knowledge and teachings, and must be found before it falls into dark hands. Par sends the Padawan to the ruins of Kalet for clues to finding the Fount. They discover an ancient prototype of a lightsaber, which upon examination may provide more leads. The hunt continues, with Kaizen joining the Padawan on a hunt for Flesh Raiders. A confrontation with Naylan seems inevitable, and as the search continues, more recordings of Rajavari's apprentices are found. The Padawan finds Kaizen in the mountains, who had gone off on his own to find coordinates for the Fount. However, Kaizen was captured by Naylan and imprisoned, and though he is eventually freed, he is shamed. For his score of honorable kills in the eyes of his deity the scorekeeper has now been entirely wiped away. The Padawan urges him to keep up hope, and finally learns the location of the Fount. They pass through several trials after finding the Fount, but find no sign of Naylan. The Force ghost of Rajavari appears to the Padawan, revealing he has clung to life all this time, refusing to become one with the Force. Rajavari does this believing the Jedi are still imperfect, and is waiting for the right person to find the Fount and become his student. He reveals that Naylan has become dangerously imbalanced, and does not wish to reform the Jedi, but to destroy them. Naylan has set out for the Great Forge, where Jedi construct their lightsabers. The destruction of this would cripple the Order on Tython and diminish their martial power. The Padawan finds the forge, and builds their own lightsaber using the hilt prototype from earlier. As they finish the blade, Naylan appears with other Twi'leks. The Padawan tries to talk Naylan down, but is forced to fight him. Naylan is wounded, and the Padawan sends him back to the Jedi Temple, sparing his life. They pledge their service to Kalikori Village, beginning to heal the animosity the local Twi'leks have for the Order. Kaizen pledges to serve the Padawan and follow their path, and they both return to the temple to speak with the Council. There, they stand before Satil Shan and the Council with Yuan Par. Their deeds are praised by all the members. The Padawan urges them to train Naylan as a Jedi once he is healed. Impressed by their deeds of heroism, compassion, and mercy, the Council promotes the Padawan to the rank of a Jedi Knight. However, Yuan then collapses, and is rushed away to medical care. She is to be sent to Coruscant, and the new knight and Kaizen will accompany her and continue their studies into Rajavari. Yuan Par awakens, but falls into rambling states of madness. She mentions two children, one named Parcanis, and seems to fear a mysterious man in the shadows. The Jedi Consular meets with Atris Finn, a Jedi researching for a cure to Yuan's affliction. He believes the answers may be in the ruins of the Jedi archives, damaged during Darth Malgus' attack on the Jedi Temple. The Consular must find a system of 3 holocrons called Noeticons, imprinted with the personalities of great Jedi Masters. The Consular is able to recover the Noeticons from seedy markets and looters, along the way helping and healing the wounded they come across. They speak with the virtual intelligences of several prominent masters in Jedi history, experts in science, mysticism and history, and the secrets of darkness. Meanwhile, Yuan continues to worsen, and the Consular is forced to fight her and knock her out. They track down a local Justicar who had arranged for the theft of all 3 Noeticons. After confronting him and demanding to know where the third is, it is revealed the thug is working for a Sith. The Consular defeats them and gains access to the third Noeticon. They learn Yuan may be afflicted by a Jedi plague of sorts, created by an ancient Sith named Tarak Morich. He had been able to use it to turn hundreds of Jedi to the dark side, and was only stopped when a Jedi healer developed a shielding technique to free those lost to darkness. Morich's army was gradually weakened, but with each Jedi saved, the healer's strength dwindled. Eventually, he sacrificed his own life to save countless others, and the ritual can be learned from a terminal in the Jedi Temple. The Consular sets off to the temple with all the Noeticons to save Yuan. They find the terminal and activate all the Masters. A cure must be found to prevent the plague from spreading to other Jedi. Over several hours of meditation, the Consular learns the shielding ritual. Then, the Sith appears and destroys the terminal and Noeticons. He attacks but is defeated by the Consular. They rush back to Yuan and perform the ritual in time to save her life. It briefly weakens the Consular, but Yuan regains her strength and sanity. To be fully healed, however, the source of the plague must be destroyed. The Consular is then summoned to the Council, who reveal that several Jedi Masters across the galaxy have begun exhibiting similar symptoms as Yuan. As the Consular is the only person in the galaxy who knows the shielding ritual, they are sent off to Taris and Nar Shaddaa to shield the sick Masters and find the perpetrator of the plague. Master Sio Bakarn will be their contact, and promises investigations into the unfolding events will continue on Tython. The Consular travels to Taris, where the first Master they must find is Sin Tychon. He is one of the leaders of the planet's restoration movement, and seems to have vanished in the wilderness. They meet with a Republic captain and Sykin's Padawan Eris Verano, learning Tychon's symptoms match Yuan's. The Consular finds Tychon's team on an expedition and rescues them, though the Jedi Master remains missing. They save many lives, and learn Tychon may be heading to a purification plant called the Junction. Hundreds of civilians work there, and now may be in danger from the Mad Jedi. The Consular rushes to the Junction and confronts a delusional Tychon there. He also mentions Parkanis in his ramblings, and the Consular moves forwards to talk him down. Tychon begins to destroy the main gas lines as a horde of Rakghouls breaks in. The Consular decides to save the workers and braves the toxic gases to save the entire crew. Tychon flees and then attacks the Republic base on Taris. Tychon unleashes Rakghouls from tunnels under the base and takes Eris hostage. The Republic captain wants revenge against Tychon but is talked down by the Consular. The Rakghoul tunnels under the base are sealed, and the Consular deduces Tychon's next goal may be a massive reactor that, if detonated, could destroy the entire Republic-occupied area on Taris. The Consular confronts Tychon again at the reactor, and learns of a mysterious Lord Vivicar who seems to command him. The Consular duels Tychon and manages to incapacitate him. They perform the shielding ritual and heal Tychon, dissipating his madness. He accepts that he must face trial for his crimes on Taris, and the Consular contacts the Council again. Their next destination is Nar Shaddaa to find Master Duras Fane. Fane is believed to be the new leader of a group called the Guiding Hand, a rival of the incumbent Hutt cartels. It is feared Fane may have fully fallen to darkness, and it is imperative that he be stopped. For if the Hutts learn a rogue Jedi is threatening their business, they may defect entirely to the Empire. It would be a massive loss of trade routes, intel, and credits. The Consular meets Theron Cedrax, a researcher of exogalactic technology. They rescue him from a weapons deal gone awry, and he helps the Consular infiltrate a local gang to get closer to Thane. It seems that many local gangs of Nar Shaddaa have fallen under Thane's sway, and are working to defeat the darkness their leader claims to be haunted by. The Consular is ordered to take down the defense system of the Hutts, and insists on saving the workers instead of sacrificing them. Upon a successful mission, the Consular is allowed to meet a Hollow of Thane. He insists he is not sick, but draws ever closer to the dark side. Thane orders for the Consular to be killed, but they defeat the attackers and track Thane's location to a dangerous prison. The Hutt cartel tightens its search, beginning to suspect Jedi involvement. They shut down Thane's power system from an Imperial base, with the Consular opting to force persuade the guards away rather than fight them. They then break into Thane's base and manage to battle their way to him. Thane tells them of Malachor III, and how a darkness there supposedly destroyed Parkanis Tark. He attacks the Consular, but is profoundly subdued. Thane seems to have a strong fear of Lord Vivicar, and then a Hutt cartel representative arrives. He demands Thane be handed over to the Hutts, but the Consular is able to negotiate for Thane to stay in Jedi custody. Thane is shielded, the ritual continuing to weaken the Consular physically. Through the Consular's diplomacy, however, the guiding hand is disbanded and the Hutts are convinced to stand down. Theron decides to join the Consular's crew, and they soon receive a mission from the Jedi Council. They have received a distress signal from a Republic ship, which reports another Jedi has gone mad. The Consular rushes to the ship and its Jedi, Lorana Thane. They find the ship and find that Lorana has been subdued by the crew. It is revealed she was wounded fighting off an Imperial ambush and was healed by a mysterious Jedi. The Consular instantly realizes the healer was actually the mysterious Sith they are chasing. They confront Lorana, who is attempting to take over the entire ship. After a brief fight, she flees and shuts herself in the airlock. The Consular manages to talk her down for an instant by mentioning her father and is able to perform the shielding ritual. Then, a Hollow of Vivicar himself appears, disappointed that Lorana will not be able to become his apprentice. He reveals he was a former Jedi himself and is determined to destroy the entire order. The Council then informs the Consular that 2 more Masters have gone mad, on Tatooine and Alderaan. They travel to Tatooine to find Master Ares Vossen, linking up with the Jedi's guide to find him. The Consular is able to follow Vossen's path to the Jawas, who reveal that they had been ordered to dismantle sandcrawlers to make weapons for him. The guide is given a secret message, and a Hollow of Vossen appears. It tells them that Vossen has now moved on to the Tusken Raiders of the Deep Desert, and plans to use them as an army to attack the Republic. The Consular tracks a more aggressive group of raiders believed to be led by Vossen. They manage to find Vossen, who believes the Tusken Raiders represent a key ideal, that the Republic must purge its weak. The Consular defeats Vossen in a duel, and the wounded master mentions Parkanis once more. It seems they are all connected by a mission that went wrong on Malachor III, during which Vossen claims they were forced to abandon Parkanis. Vossen is shielded and freed from Vivicar, and the Consular heads next to Alderaan. Their new target is Master Sidoni Garen, a diplomat for House Organa who is supposed to be negotiating a peace on Alderaan. The Consular visits House Organa and asks for a way to get to the peace summit. They decide to become a representative for House Tural, and defend the beleaguered house from several attacks by Killix and House Olgo. Lord Tural tells the Consular that to defend themselves in the future, they need to arrange a marriage with House Organa, between Tural's daughter and Lew Organa. The Consular decides to negotiate with the mercenary general of House Olgo to convince his forces to stand down and join Tural. After several trials by combat, the general defects to House Tural, but the Consular learns that Lew Organa has been kidnapped by one of Olgo's allies, House Rist. It threatens to shatter the peace and reignite the civil war. However, the Consular is able to free Lew, who reveals Master Sidoni is involved. The marriage is set into motion, and the Consular is made the delegate of House Tural for the summit. They travel to the summit, where Sidoni has instead been provoking the houses into open conflict again, by exposing all the conspiracies they had planned against each other. The Consular arrives in time to quell the unrest, and confronts Sidoni. They then talk down the delegates, but an enraged Sidonia attacks them. She is soundly defeated, mentioning Parkanis and Malachor III like the others. The Consular shields her, and the delegates all agree to continue peace talks. At last, all the deranged masters have been saved, and the Consular returns to the council on Tython. There, the Consular comes to believe Lord Vivicar is actually Parkanis Tark. Yuan Par then arrives and reveals the truth. Malachor III is a bastion of the dark side, the final resting place of Tarak Morij. The Masters were on a mission on the planet, and fell to darkness from the influence of Morij's spirit. They were forced to abandon Parkanis to escape, and Yuan then proposes they use her mental link with Vivicar to find the Dark Lord. Yuan conducts a ritual to reforge the connection she had during her illness, and Vivicar then speaks through her directly at the Consular. But Yuan is able to obtain the coordinates where Vivicar is hiding in uncharted space, and the Consular shields her once more. Returning to the council, the Consular is sent to confront Vivicar. They find a ship and break inside. There, the Consular fights their way to Vivicar and orders him to surrender. The spirit of Tarak Morij is revealed to have possessed Parkanis Tark, but after they battle, Tarak is driven away. He reveals that his plague, however, has continued to spread across the galaxy in the meantime. The Masters will always be bound to him, and if he dies, they will too. The Consular then shields Parkanis, and after a great struggle, he is brought back to the light. He agrees to venture back into the wilderness of Tython to find himself again, and it seems the plague has been driven back. The Consular returns to Tython, and for their deeds of heroism is promoted to the rank of Jedi Master and named Barsen'thor, Warden of the Order. They are needed for another mission and attend a meeting with the Supreme Chancellor. For the threat of the Sith Empire has led many worlds to consider seceding from the Republic. Some have formed an organization called the Rift Alliance, and their control over critical resources would cripple the Republic if lost. The Chancellor assigns the Consular to be his diplomat to the Rift Alliance, and they set off on the mission of great importance. They fly to the Rift flagship Fortitude, but receive a holo from a passenger that the ship has been attacked by the Sith. The Consular boards the ship and encounters the Sith commander, who answers to a Lord Kyrus. They defeat the commander and free the Rift senators. Their ship is badly damaged, however, and the senators are evacuated to the Consular ship after the Fortitude is navigated to safety. The Consular then begins their mission to settle the qualms of the Rift worlds. They are urged first to liberate Balmorra, which has been occupied by the Empire and has lost control over its droid factories. Tai Cordon, its representative, promises the planet will join the Republic if freed from the Sith. The Consular is determined to prove the Republic's honor, and travels to the surface with Cordon. He is next in line for the presidency, for even though Cordon is the Secretary of Trade, he is the highest level official remaining. They decide to locate a revolutionary named Zenith, hoping he will bring his supplies and men to their cause. The Consular gets in contact with Zenith, and helps carry out a recon mission by his side. On the mission, they encounter an apprentice of Darth Lacris, the Sith in control of Balmorra, who also has its president held hostage. The Consular is able to turn the apprentice to the light, who stands down and refuses to fight for the Sith anymore. Zenith agrees to meet with Tai Cordon, who plans to pull Balmorra's powerful military corporations onto their side. The corporations have noticed the Consular's presence, and agree to send a delegate to meet with them. The delegate tells the Consular the corporations will join the fight if the Jedi stop interfering with their experimental weapons programs. The Consular negotiates to maintain a softer watch with Jedi overseers, and the delegate is satisfied. The revolution gains the corporation's backing, and Tai believes the next step must be to free the Balmorran president to ensure a peaceful transfer of power. They must now free the prisoners held by Darth Lacris, with Zenith's men battling the Imperials while the Consular rescues the civilians. An assault is launched on Lacris's prison, with Zenith's forces taking heavy casualties. The prisoners are freed, however, and they manage to learn the president's location. They race off to Lacris's stronghold to free the president and find him frozen in carbonite. Darth Lacris confronts the Consular, who asserts the Imperial occupation has ended. Zenith and the Consular battle the Sith and take her life. However, the president has suffered severe psychological damage from Sith torture. The Consular cannot heal him with the shielding ritual, and then introduces Tai to the broken president. The Balmoran citizens agree to pass on the office to Cordon, and Balmora joins the Republic. Zenith joins the crew of the Consular and as a liaison to the Rift Alliance. It is then revealed that the Consular ship is being tracked by the Sith Empire. They then learn that on the planet of Quesh, a Rift Alliance research facility has been attacked by the Sith. A young woman named Nadia accompanies the Consular as they break into the station, which is swarming with Imperials and Sith. The Consular frees several scientists and learns that Nadia is Force sensitive. They encounter a hollow of the Sith Lord Kyrus, and the station is liberated. The Consular returns to the ship and discusses Nadia's ability with her father. Her father then informs the Consular the Rift Alliance has a coalition of armed forces to protect its shipping routes near Hoth. However, they are currently beleaguered by the White Maw pirates and are in dire need of support. The pirates are cunning and have more might than expected, and the Consular is given command over the coalition forces. They meet with Lieutenant Felix Arreso, who tells them a White Maw captain named Vaylon is proving to be a thorn in their side. It also seems that somehow he is incapable of dying. On a mission for the coalition, they find Vaylon, who refuses to stand down. He attacks them and the Consular defeats him, seemingly ending his life. Arreso celebrates the victory, but then Vaylon later patches in, having somehow survived. He threatens to cut off all heating to the Rift bases, which would freeze them to death. The Consular sets off to stop Vaylon, and learns that he has a special suit of armor that heals almost any wound and renders him practically invincible. The Coalition forces attack the Imperial lab where they believe the armor was constructed and learn of its weaknesses. They then learn Vaylon plans to take to the skies with a rebuilt dreadnought. The Coalition men take on Vaylon's forces at the ship engines, and the Consular breaks into the ship. They find Imperial forces who also seek to defeat Vaylon. The Consular overcomes them, and finds Vaylon as the engines are taken. Vaylon refuses to surrender, and after a fight, the armor is broken and loses its powers. He is taken prisoner, and Arreso joins the Rift delegates and the Consular. Returning to the ship, the hunt continues for the traitor on board. The Consular and Nadia come to suspect Blasis, a delegate who has unfortunately just been assigned on a mission to Sarkai. The Consular rushes to a way station, where the safety of the King and Queen of Sarkai may be threatened. There, they find Blasis and Lord Kyrus, holding the King and Queen hostage. The Consular notes they never once sense darkness in Blasis, who reveals he is something called a child of the Emperor. He has been imprinted with the Sith Emperor's power and consciousness, sharing even his inner personal thoughts. Blasis is among hundreds of children scattered throughout the Republic, their presences concealed by someone called the First Son. The Consular battles Kyrus and Blasis and kills them both. Master Sio Bakarn then contacts the Consular and informs them war has broken out again. The Sith have launched a massive surprise attack, with the core narrowly being held. Bakarn learns of the First Son and the children of the Emperor, and gives the Consular military command. They are tasked to find strong allies for the Republic with the Rift Alliance, and the Consular decides to consult the Noeticons, which are revealed to have been reconstructed on Tython. They appeal to the Masters inside for guidance, who tell them there may be an imprisoned army, former subjects of the Rakatan Infinite Empire somewhere on a hidden world. The Noeticons' research reveals the coordinates to the prison world may be back on Hoth. The Consular finds a large Rakatan monument there, and learns the army is called the Esh-Ka. They were a war-hungry race who sought to purge the galaxy of all other life, and were thus imprisoned in stasis by the Rakatans. However, there was a faction of the Esh-Ka who spoke out against their culture's Great Crusade, but they were detained with the others. The Consular tracks the Esh-Ka's prison to the planet of Belsavis, which is also currently a Republic prison world. The Rakatan facility is hidden under the massive prison compound, which is also undergoing riots and threats of a mass breakout. The Consular learns of an ancient vault underneath the prison and lands on the surface. The prisoner's commander, Gieland, seems to be investigating the cells, but the Consular arrives to find his entire team dead. An assistant named Comey reveals that Gieland has force powers, and killed everyone with force lightning. Gayland is another child of the Emperor, and the Consular finds a scuttled forgotten terminal. Gayland speaks to them through its comms, and the defense systems become primed against the Consular. A strange voice then speaks through the terminal, claiming to be a friend. The Consular manages to repair the terminal, and the voice offers to help guide them to an Eshka leader named Hollow Voice. Hollow Voice was one of the Eshka who spoke up against the genocide, and may be open to working with the Consular. The Consular unlocks Hollow Voice's chamber, and meets the source of the mysterious voice. It is a Rakatan named Lunu, who looks to repent for the wrong imprisonment of Hollow Voice and its followers. The Consular then manages to free the followers after millennia of imprisonment, who agree to heed them and aid in freeing Hollow Voice. Many more warriors are liberated as Gayland closes in. The Consular finds Gayland in front of an imprisoned Hollow Voice after breaking into the chamber. Hollow Voice is freed at last and healed by the Consular, and Gayland is killed. The Consular frees all the Eshka as Lunu departs. The Eshka join the Republic forces against the Sith Empire, and the Consular, out of honor, is given a cultural Eshka name as well. Back on the ship, the Consular learns from Nadia that her father has been kidnapped. They set off with her and track down the kidnapper. Nadia's father, however, was tortured and killed. Nadia is calmed by the Consular so she doesn't fall to rage, and the kidnapper is defeated. However, in a blaze of power, she strikes down the kidnapper out of anger, but is talked down. The council offers its condolences and reveals that Nadia's father's last wish was for Nadia to become the Padawan of the Counselor. Nadia readily agrees, and their partnership begins. To gain more allies for the Rift, the Consular heads to the mystical world of Voss, where their healers may prove to be a valuable resource. The Mystics are also hotly contested by the Republic and Empire, with both sides seeking to draw the Grey Force users to their respective sides. On Voss, the Consular learns from the Republic Ambassador Sophia Farash that mystics are exceedingly rare, and it is rumored that not a single one of their visions has not come to pass. They decide to try and recruit Gaiden Ko, a Voss who needs to pass several trials to become a full mystic. The Consular finds Gaiden Ko badly wounded, his family dead from a recent battle with a hostile Gormak. He agrees to let the Consular accompany him on his pilgrimage. On their journey, Gaiden Ko is attacked by an Imperial assassin. The assassin is killed, and Gaiden Ko is rushed to the Shrine of Healing. However, Gaiden Ko still has not had any visions, but he remains determined to continue his pilgrimage. They visit a carving as the Consular urges for patience. Several Voss commandos arrive, and ask for aid in a fight against the Gormak. Gaiden Ko and the Consular disrupt the Gormak mining operations of Voss crystals, and then head to the Deep Cradle in the Nightmare Lands. They rescue a Republic archaeology expedition, and discover a hollow journal that guides them to the Deep Cradle. There, Gaiden Ko becomes a full mystic and has his first vision. It is of two suns, one lighted and one dead, and a mountain of stars. It is decreed that Gaiden Ko and his entourage of healers and bodyguards must now travel with the Consular across the galaxy, to experience both the light and dark sides of the Force. The Consular meets with Farash again, and she is revealed to be another child of the Emperor. She and her assassins are defeated by the Consular, and Farash reveals that the first son may not even be aware of his own connection to the Emperor. They return to the Consular ship, where Master Sioba Karn summons them to a war council. The Consular's allies are recruited into the conflict against the Sith Empire, and are asked to aid in the looming battle for Corellia. Their forces are to capture the Imperial flagship the Javelin, which may be used to defend the core worlds. The Consular's team breaks into the Javelin, encountering light resistance. They discover the ship is a trap, laced with explosives. Everyone frantically evacuates and disables as many of the charges as possible. However, the Javelin is destroyed, and one of the team is forced to take an escape pod to Corellia's surface. War rips apart Corellia, but Tai Cordon tells them that Master Sioba Karn has fortified the key structures in Coronet City with Guardian Hold defense systems. The Rift forces land to defend the shipyards and find the escape pod. The defenses are stretched thin, and the Consular battles Imperial droids to clear a way to find the pod. They find their companion, who managed to recover key data files from the Javelin. The Consular finds help from a Republic officer and manages to access the file. Shockingly, it reveals the first son is actually Master Sio-Bakarn of the Jedi Council. The Consular and other council members confront a Hollow of Sio, but the Jedi Master begins to speak with the voice of the Sith Emperor. Now, the children of the Emperor have gained control over the Guardian Holds, risking Corellia being lost to the Sith. A great battle begins to reclaim the Guardian Holds, with the Republic being aided by the Rift Alliance forces. Several more children of the Emperor are defeated, and the Consular continues to appeal to Sio-Bakarn, urging him to fight the will of the Emperor within him. The Consular searches for the first son, defeating the daughter of the Emperor at Guardian Hold 4. They believe Bakarn to be at Guardian Hold 1, but the Rift forces have taken heavy losses. They fortify the levels above ground, as the Consular heads below and finds Sio. The Emperor is fascinated with the power of the Consular and the redemption of Vivicar and healing of the Rift Alliance. Through the power of the Emperor, Sio attacks. The Consular overcomes the first son, and at last Master Sio-Bakarn breaks free of the Emperor. The shielding around the other children, which has hidden their darkness from the Jedi, is lifted. Sio-Bakarn departs to recover, and the Consular reports back to the Rift in the Council. All the children of the Emperor are now exposed, and Sio decides to return to Thanaton to continue to restrain the will of the first son. The Consular and the Rift Alliance are honored on Coruscant as a new Supreme Chancellor takes power. For their tremendous deeds and great power, the Consular is also elected as a new member of the Jedi Council. A slave of the Sith on Korriban has been discovered to be strong in the Force. They begin training to join the Empire in its full might at the Academy there. They are thrust into a series of harsh, competitive trials to become the apprentice of the Sith Lord Zash. The tests involve exploring the tombs of Ajunta Pal and Tulak Horde, the interrogation of a criminal, and being sent to the tomb of Naga Sadow to recover a map. In Sadow's tomb, they defeat Kem Val, a former slave of Tulak Horde. Val is forced to obey the Acolyte and they return to the Academy triumphant. The Acolyte passes all the tests with flying colors, impressing Zash. She declares them to be her new apprentice, and they fly back to Dromund Kaas. The apprentice encounters several goons employed by Darth Scotia, who claims to be Zash's superior. Scotia seems to look to disrupt Zash's schemes for unknown reasons. Upon landing, they are confronted by Darth Scotia, who reasserts he will continue to try and defeat Darth Zash. They reunite with Zash, who is frustrated that Scotia continues to interfere with her plans to unlock the key to Tulak Horde's ancient power. Zash assigns the apprentice to assassinate Scotia. They are tasked with several missions to orchestrate the rivals' defeat. The apprentice first retrieves archaeological plants from an ancient jungle complex, crushing a slave revolt in the process. They steal a Trandoshan tablet pertaining to the Scorekeeper deity, which will weaken Scotia's power over his Trandoshan bodyguards. Next, to nullify Scotia's powerful cybernetic armor, they obtain a special neutralizer from a tech expert. The apprentice then moves to kill Scotia. The Trandoshans stand down upon being shown the tablet and the neutralizer disables his armor. The apprentice mortally wounds Scotia, who warns them of Zash's true goals as he dies. They inform Zash of their success, and Zash is then contacted by her superior, Darth Thanaton. He knows of Scotia's murder, disapproving of the tactics, but Zash openly denies any involvement. After meeting with Thanaton, Zash returns with the title of Darth. The apprentice continues to search for Tulak Horde's power, and is sent to secure an artifact from an apparition in the temple. They encounter the apparition, the Dark Lord Kalig, who reveals he is actually the apprentice's grandfather. He believes they will restore the family name to greatness, and confides that he was once a great lord of the Sith. However, he was betrayed by Tulak Horde, and urges them to be cautious and wary of everyone. The apprentice takes the artifact and returns to Zash. They learn there are 4 more artifacts, which hold the key to an arcane ritual used by Tulak Horde when he conquered the Dromund system. Apparently, it is the apprentice's destiny to conduct this ritual. They are sent to recover the remaining artifacts on Balmorra and Nar Shaddaa. The apprentice first travels to Balmorra, where the artifact is hidden somewhere in a toxic wasteland. They must contend with the local Republic-backed resistance while remaining inconspicuous from the other Sith on the planet. To acquire protection from the toxic chemicals, the apprentice breaks into a research lab and discovers a serum that may offer immunity. The apprentice enters the vault, battling mutated colicoids, and finds the artifact. They head next to Nar Shaddaa, where the next artifact is held by the Sith Lord Palladius. Palladius has become the head of a cult following on Nar Shaddaa, and the apprentice is tasked with using 2 defectors to get close to him. The apprentice meets up with the cult and crushes a rival gang to win the support of the impoverished followers. Moving next to confront Palladius, they interrupt a convocation of his followers gathered around a transmission of the Sith Lord. They trigger a fake earthquake and gain a large following. The apprentice strides into Palladius' compound, demanding the artifact. Suddenly, Palladius begins to drain their essence and sever their connection to the Force. After a fierce duel, however, the apprentice overcomes Palladius. They obtain the artifact and execute him. Upon returning to their ship, the ghost of Lord Calig reappears before the apprentice. He delivers a warning that Darth Zash seems to be plotting something. She has already taken on 2 new apprentices and has been investigating the Dark Temple of Calig on Dromund Kaas. Zash has also been performing several rituals in preparation for something bigger, and the apprentice is told of an ancient mask on Korriban that may be used to protect them. They break into the compound of Lord Crucis there, and defeat him to claim the mask. An unsuspecting Zash then informs them the remaining artifacts are on Tatooine and Alderaan. On Tatooine, the apprentice recruits the help of an ex-pirate captain to find the artifact. They track down the captain's former crew that had mutinied against him, and hunt the treacherous first mate. They find his underground base and destroy the first mate and his men. Before he dies, he reveals the artifact has been stolen and the thieves fled into the desert. The apprentice and pirate captain track them down and recover the artifact, though the thieves manage to escape. The next stop is Alderaan, where the last artifact is in the clutches of the noble House Organa. It is held in the ruins of the Elysium and is protected by a Jedi Master. The Sith apprentice decides to bait out the Jedi by threatening his formerly betrothed, Rehana Rist. They break into House Rist and cut a vast swath through its notorious assassins, with Rehana agreeing to call the Jedi, Master Nomar Organa, back to Alderaan. The ploy works, and the apprentice confronts Organa and attacks. Nomar is killed, and the apprentice defeats another contingent of Jedi sent by House Organa against House Thul. They gain access to the Elysium and take the artifact from the vault of House Organa. With all 4 artifacts secured at last, the apprentice is summoned back to Dromund Kaas by Darth Zash. Darth Thanaton contacts them, greatly interested in their rise and also warning them of Zash's precarious political situation. Lord Calig also hails them, telling the apprentice of the family lightsaber held on Nar Shaddaa. They recover the lightsaber from some thieves and then head to Dromund Kaas to prepare the final ritual. The apprentice meets Zash in the Dark Temple, where they learn they are promoted to the rank of Sith Lord. Zash then reveals her true appearance, a withered, gaunt old woman. Her physical body is dying, and the rituals will transfer her essence into the body of the Inquisitor, extending her life. The Inquisitor attacks Zash, but is hurled against a pillar and stunned. Zash begins the ritual, but Kem Val attacks her and interrupts it. The ritual goes awry, and the essence of Zash is instead transferred to Kem Val's body. The Sith Inquisitor watches as the personalities of Kem Val and Zash battle for control, as they now have effectively gained mastery over Zash as well. The ghost of Calig appears again, and decrees the Inquisitor the new Lord Calig. The Inquisitor emerges from the temple having defeated Zash, and encounters Zash's new apprentices. The apprentices and their soldiers swear obedience to the Inquisitor, and they head off to meet with Darth Thanaton. There, Thanaton tells them of the importance of upholding traditional Sith principles and remembering the ancient histories, something Zash had neglected. He acknowledges the Inquisitor's power and abilities, but urges for more caution in the future. Thanaton, a powerful Sith who is second in power only to the Dark Council, tasks them with finding the ancient writings of Darth Andrew to determine their future in the Sith. In the tomb, however, the ghost of Andrew attacks and nearly kills the Inquisitor before being driven off by the ghost of Calig. Calig scolds the Inquisitor for walking in blindly, telling them they were set up to be killed by Thanaton. He then confides the Inquisitor has a unique power among Force ghosts and may be able to learn an arcane power. For the Inquisitor has the potential to learn Force walking, the ability to consume Force ghosts and their powers. The Inquisitor learns the new ritual from the ghost of the Sith Lord Urgist. After binding the servant of Urgist to their will, the Inquisitor returns to Ardu and conquers him as well. The more ghosts they are able to claim, the more strength they will have to face off with Thanaton. The writings are brought back to Thanaton, who then sends several warriors to attack the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor fights them off, but is no match for the power and vast knowledge of Thanaton. They are driven down and left for dead. However, they are rescued by their followers and evacuated back to their ship. It is revealed the presence of the ghost within the Inquisitor narrowly kept them alive. They must now seek out the most powerful ghost in the galaxy and gain their power to defeat Thanaton. It is suggested a powerful ghost may be on Terrace while the others search for Thanaton's whereabouts, who left Dromund Kaas. They learn the ghost may only appear in the old Jedi Enclave, which is tightly guarded by the Jedi. Additionally, only a Padawan named Ashara Zavros can summon the ghost. The Inquisitor finds several recordings of Ashara's training, noting her underlying passion and pride, and comes to believe that she can be corrupted to the dark side. They also recruit the aid of Sith Lord Anathemos and his assassins by recovering a holocron. The assassins are used to bait Ashara out into open ground, with the Inquisitor arriving to supposedly rescue her. There, the Inquisitor kills the assassins and corrupts Ashara to the dark side, gaining a new apprentice. She takes them to the Jedi Masters, who are all defeated by the Inquisitor mercilessly. Ashara summons the ghost, and the Inquisitor is ambushed by forces sent by Thanaton. The attackers are killed, and the Inquisitor claims the Force Ghost, gaining its powers. The former apprentices of Zash, now followers of the Inquisitor, then ask for aid, as they have been chased by Thanaton to the planet of Quesh. They have also stolen a key to Darth Thanaton's meditation chambers, something that will be key in the upcoming fight. The Inquisitor arrives to find the apprentices dead, slain by Lord Cineratus. The murderer is killed, and the key is recovered. The Inquisitor learns the next ghost may be on Hoth, but heads first to Korriban to gain new acolytes. After scouting the candidate, their crew reveals they believe a ghost may be present somewhere around a crashed transport on Hoth. On their flight, the Inquisitor is hailed by Darth Malgus, who asks that the power of Tulak Horde be handed over to the Empire. Malgus claims that a Jedi Master, formerly imprisoned by the Emperor, has been set free. That Jedi, the infamous Revan, has fled in search of the space station the Foundry. The Sith now seek to conquer the Foundry and kill Revan. The Inquisitor links up with Malgus' expeditionary fleet and takes over a Republic ship. They prepare for the assault on Revan and the Foundry, a self-automated battle droid factory built inside an asteroid. The Inquisitor joins the strike team, using the captured Republic ship to bypass its blockade. The strike team breaks inside, battling the defenders in a vicious fight. Revan speaks over the comm system to the Inquisitor and sets the droids against them. They are led by the assassination droid HK-47, which reveals extermination droids designed to eliminate any organics with Sith ancestry, some 97.8% of the Imperial population. The Inquisitor battles the droids and destroys HK-47, then confronts Revan himself. Revan dons his famous Mandalorian mask and attacks the Inquisitor, determined to destroy the Empire and prevent the galaxy's ruin. After a long battle, the Inquisitor manages to wear Revan down, and he mysteriously vanishes in an explosion of energy. The Foundry falls to the Sith Empire, and Malgus believes the might of the Empire is nigh unstoppable now. The Inquisitor then carries on to find more Force Ghosts. They decide to track a scuttled ship with the help of an Imperial recovery team. The Force Ghost of Horak Mol suddenly speaks to them, and he asks the Inquisitor to kill a sect of assassins who are loyal to Naga Sadow, the political rival of his master Ludo Kresh. The Inquisitor travels to a hidden temple and destroys all its relics. They find the ghost of Horak Mol at the ruins of a dreadnought, and the Inquisitor forces it to submit to their will with the ritual. The Inquisitor decides it is time to confront Darth Thanaton again, and sets course for Dromund Kaas. They confront Thanaton, who scoffs at their pride but respects the persistence. The Sith duel once more, and the Inquisitor unleashes the power of the Ghost. However, they cannot control it and fly into a wall, falling unconscious. Thanaton disappears, and the Ghosts mock the Inquisitor as they pass out. Their crew recovers them, but the Inquisitor is badly hurt. Their mind and body are now in danger of withering, and the only key to the cure is in the private library of Thanaton. There, 2 accounts of Sith Lords with similar afflictions are found. Darth Aratus suffered from physical decay and alluded to a cure on Belsavis. Darth Villis, whose mind was diminishing, went to Voss for healing. The Inquisitor decides to follow both leads, and briefly returns to Korriban to check in on their acolytes. They then continue to Belsavis, where Aratus was believed to be looking for an ancient Rakatan healing technology. The Inquisitor lands in the midst of a planet in chaos from a massive prison break staged by the Empire. They enlist the help of a group called the Circle to decipher Aratus' cryptic diagrams. It turns out the Rakatan machine sought by Aratus was used for modular lifeform adaptation, to create their own new lifeforms from existing slaves. It is called the Mother Machine, and the Inquisitor soon finds the massive contraption. Its Rakatan warden appears, and allows the Inquisitor to use the machine if their pattern is allowed to be taken for further research into force sensitivity. They agree, and the Inquisitor is remade into a more powerful body, stopping their physical deterioration. The Inquisitor then receives a call from Moff Pyron, who reveals he has been monitoring their conflict with Thanaton. Pyron wishes to side with the Inquisitor, and he proposes the Inquisitor acquire the superweapon the Silencer, capable of obliterating an entire fleet in a single shot. Thanaton had shut it down, but if the Inquisitor were to successfully test it in battle, they would stand to gain much prestige in the Empire. The Inquisitor is asked to obtain a sensor chip for the weapon on Nar Shaddaa. Revisiting the former cult of Darth Palladius, the Inquisitor uses their resources to obtain the chip and pass it on to Pyron. They also learn that Darth Thanaton has ascended to the Dark Council, making it imperative the Silencer be tested as soon as possible. The Inquisitor agrees, and first travels to Voss to heal their mind. They must regain control over the ghosts, who now constantly speak inside their head. Aid must be sought from the Voss mystics, but it turns out they believe the Inquisitor will bring doom to Voss. They meet with Athelis Kalis, a Sith researcher, in an effort to find the cure. She tells them of a sect within the mystics called the Dreamwalkers, who are exiles from the greater Voss society. The Inquisitor visits the Dreamwalkers, who claim they are the only ones who know the ritual of mind healing. They are initiated into the Dreamwalkers, battling several visions of those they have betrayed or killed in the past. The Inquisitor is allowed into the Shrine of Healing, but learns the ritual cannot be performed there. The Inquisitor is told of something called a Dream Rock in the dark heart of the Nightmare Lands, which can be used to defeat the ghosts. The Dream Rock must also be used by a local Gormak, another native species of Voss. The Inquisitor is able to find a Gormak with a unique set of skills able to help them, and they head to the Dark Heart. The Inquisitor agrees to take the Gormak off planet in exchange for its help, and together they perform the healing ritual. The Inquisitor battles the ghosts and soundly defeats them, healing their mind and reaffirming their control over the spirits. They then fly to Korriban to choose their next apprentice. The acolytes there have just completed the final trial, and it seems a Twi'lek has risen above the others. Then, another named Zalek arrives and beats the Twi'lek to death, and claims he and he alone has completed the trial. The Inquisitor is impressed, and chooses Zalek as their new apprentice. Moff Pyron then hails them again, informing the Inquisitor the Silencer is ready to be tested. They join Pyron's fleet, and the Silencer is deployed with devastating effect. The Inquisitor declares themselves to be the ultimate power in the Empire, and gains more military followers. Thanaton then contacts them and declares a Kagath. It is an ancient Sith duel that pits 2 lords and their entire power bases against each other. Thanaton throws the gauntlet down to take place at Corellia, and broadcasts the challenge to the entire Empire. The Inquisitor arrives at Corellia in the midst of a raging battle between the Republic and Empire. The Kagath begins, and the Inquisitor moves to destabilize Thanaton's forces. They attack Thanaton's apprentice Lord Scar and torture him for information. Pyron is able to maneuver his fleet into position and avoid an ambush based on the intel while the Inquisitor secures a staging area on the ground. They find Thanaton and attack his main base. The Inquisitor arrives at a plaza and duels Thanaton in front of a crowd of other Sith, but their strength has grown vastly since the last fight, and they defeat the forces sent against them. The Inquisitor attacks Thanaton and gains the upper hand, but Thanaton then flees in an act of cowardice. Scar, now on the Inquisitor's side, tells them he has gone to Dromund Kaas to ask for aid from the Dark Council. The Inquisitor chases his foe all the way back to the stormy planet. Arriving at Dromund Kaas, they confront Thanaton as he is trying to convince the Dark Council that the Inquisitor must be killed. He believes they cannot have a part in the future of the Sith. The Dark Council still sees the Inquisitor as a Sith Lord below them, and consequently decline to aid Thanaton against someone they deem to be a lesser opponent. The Inquisitor and Thanaton then duel for the last time, and Thanaton unleashes the full might of his power. But the Inquisitor, with the strength of the ghosts behind them, overpowers Thanaton with sheer strength and the Force. A defeated Thanaton tries to crawl away, but the Dark Council members step forward and break his neck. The Inquisitor is given the title of Darth and a seat on the Dark Council. They are to be the head of the Pyramid of Ancient Knowledge, the guardian of the rituals and secrets of the Sith. The Inquisitor then claims Thanaton's chambers and begins consolidating their strength and following on Dromund Kaas.